Look, you know what? The Bank of Canada, they're not doing anybody favors yet. You and I have got tequila? A big bet. You and I got a big bet coming down, and it looks like I'm going to be prepared to buy you a bottle of tequila. I believe April, May, we will see at least a 1/4 point reduction. You then countered and said, well, you know what? I think it's going to be June or July. Let's talk about what's truly happening here, okay? Because I'm a little bit concerned. Some of the narrative, you listen to it, the U.S. Fed, there's a lot going on in the U.S. They're talking, of course, about their employment numbers, their inflationary numbers. Canada, yeah, we're on track. And just for everybody's clarity, I want to keep politics out of it. Please, to all politicians, stay out of this conversation. You have no idea what you're talking about. Dave, one of the things that we need to do from the Bank of Canada, we need to see that reduction. What's it going to take?
It sounds like it might take Jerome Powell doing it first, right? So, it's interesting. You saw the reaction to Powell's latest remarks, which was that they point blank said that they are looking at, cuts that will happen in 2024. Stock market started ripping, obviously. And so, what is it going to take for Bank of Canada? I don't know. It's interesting, right? I mean, there was still a fairly hawkish tone in that last meeting, but I don't know, for those that have seen recently, there's been something hitting the rounds in the media lately with that the lady that always is beside Tiff sometimes at those press conferences. I don't actually know her name, and I apologize for not knowing her name, but she was just on video talking about how Canada's productivity is hitting an emergency type level in terms of not on the good side. And so, when you have the Bank of Canada talking about things like that, talking about sounding the alarms for Canada's employee productivity, look, that's. I think we all know where the Bank of Canada wants to go, and I think that they've kind of had some handcuffs on them in the sense of, and as I'm not backing Tiff by any means, but I think with Trudeau and them, the spending. The reckless government spending and just money having to come out of thin air, it's making the job obviously harder for Bank of Canada. Okay,
fair. By the way, the lady beside Tiff Macklem was not Chrystia Freeland.
No.
So we're clear. Tim's chuckling at that. Look, here's the thing, and I'm not going to disagree with you that perhaps the Bank of Canada, you say their hands are tied. My problem is they tied them themselves.
Of course.
Okay, like they were so late to the increases. They went so hard and fast. They lied about everything. They dug themselves into a hole. They created the problem, right? Like let's be honest. Okay, and that's one of the things we want to always be here is they left the rates too low too long and created the problem. A knee-jerk reaction is, oh man, inflation's going to run out of control, which it kind of did. And look, yes, 8% is high, but truth be told, you should have anticipated it. And then they turn around, knee-jerk reaction after telling every Canadian to go spend money. And then we got to hammer the Canadians. Yeah. So they created the problem. Yeah. Hands tied or not, they need to give Canadians a solution. Tim, you wanted to jump in on there as soon as Dave was talking about it. So
jump in on there. I really believe that Canadians right now and households, the way we're speaking to buyers and sellers every single day, we're seeing why they need to sell and why they can't buy. And the bottom line is both the same answer, and that is the interest rates and the stress test. And people are stretched thin. There's a lot of mortgages coming due. They need to make a decision quickly because it won't be just the economic numbers they're going to be seeing. There's only so much banks can do working with people on extending amortizations or doing other things to keep them in their homes. Yep. And, to Todd's point, you can say, well, you shouldn't have spent money. Well, you shouldn't have told me to go spend money. And you should not have given me interest rates that were 1.99 or 2%. You could have started raising rates way earlier. But instead, I remember clearly the message was, we're not raising rates for 3 or 4 years because that would be economic chaos, right? So that was their words. Now they need to make steps.
Which was at a time, by the way, when inflation was actually already approaching 5%.
Yes.
And that's when those remarks were beginning to be made. Right? So,
but at this point, you got, not because I have any vested interest, I do. April, to be an interest rate cut would be great, but it's not happening. I've lost a few bets, by the way, just so you know that, right?
Okay.
So
Listen, we can't even say I won because I'm June, July. If they end up pushing this to September, I think nobody.
I you know what? September to me, you just made my heart skip a little bit in a negative, like not in a good way, right? Because not for me personally as an owner, for Canadians, right? It is not a good scene right now for that. It needs to change. No later than June. Throw the Canadians a bone, right? Just do something.
We got a chance because here's the thing, right? You've got this April meeting coming up, right, in a couple of weeks. And then you've got 2 CPI prints coming out. So the one that comes out in April is going to be for March. The one that comes out in May is going to be for April. And that's all because there's no meeting in May. The next meeting, of course, is June. So look, we've got 2.9 on the CPI down to 2.8, so right, 2.9, 2.8. If we can see 2.7, 2.6, keep some type of momentum, then I think they're going to have no choice, the Bank of Canada, to really change the tone. It's going to become dovish. And then, hopefully June, July, we get some relief.
Look, and there's also been the narrative that some people are saying, look, how about take living expenses out of it, right? Because look, you take rent out right now, you take your mortgage.
We're in the ones.
Right now, we're in the ones. Yep. It's got a 1 in front of it, right? So when you turn around, and this is where I think that I personally believe that the Bank of Canada, and everybody says, look, Bank of Canada is independent of the federal government, and we would all agree that that's what we're supposed to hear. Right? We all agree that's what's supposed to happen. We all want to sit there and say, no, there's no negative narrative here. If you come into an election year, which the U.S. is coming in, the real question is, are they going to start monkeying with their interest rates, coming into the election so that any ruling party is going to sit there and say, look, we're now taking care of our voters, right?